Hello everybody. So we should all be growing food, of course. And not just any food if you can, which everybody is able to. Whether you have to do it in pots or on your kitchen windowsill. You want to grow the most productive, nutritious, excuse me, foods you can possibly grow, and the easiest. And this right here is one of my absolute favorites. You just can't beat the native original strain, because there are so many hybrids now. Seminole pumpkins. You just cannot beat these guys. They're disease resistant. Nothing really bothers them. Where some of the other squash, especially in the cool damp winters we have here in Florida, which is the only time you can really grow squash, most of them, without the bugs just destroying them. They get covered in powdery mildew, other varieties, and it just decreases productivity and they end up dying quickly. Or you have aphids like to attack the new shoots. What else? Pickler worms are a nightmare with the summer squash, the zucchini and the yellow squash. It's to the point where as soon as it warms up, you cannot even grow those guys, because the pickler worms just absolutely destroy them. And then you have the green tent caterpillars destroy all the other varieties. I've basically given up on any other type of squash besides these. I do grow a green fleshed squash out of South America that is in the same family as these, the Muscota. I think that's how you say it. And those are on par with the Seminole pumpkins for pest and disease resistance, but not quite. If I have the time this year, I might make some crosses and see. But these Seminole pumpkins, first off, they're perennial. We are not even in April yet. And this plant overwintered a little tiny piece in my greenhouse. You can see where it started and spread out from here. And it is already covered in squash. There's one growing right there. This little bed is going to have the ducks move through it soon, so I'll have to move all these vines, but that's alright. They're just growing beautifully. There's another 3-4 female flowers open this morning. I'll pollinate those in a minute, just in case I don't have any bees coming around today. Oh, there we go. Look at that one right there. And these ripen up pretty quick. They're nice and hard skinned and full size in about 2 weeks from pollination, which isn't too bad. And then about a month and a half, you have a ripe squash off these. So they ripen and grow very fast. And oh, excuse me this morning. Did point out that it overwintered right there, cutting underneath my greenhouse. And yeah, a lot of people don't know these are actually perennial plants. You can take cuttings in the fall if you have a nice plant and root it in a pot, overwinter it in your house or greenhouse, plant it out nice and early, and not only do you skip 3-4 months of it needing to grow, because that cutting's off of a mature plant. Their second year, third year, which I have not planted these in 2-3 years, by the way, they pump out the female flowers like you can't believe. Just this little area here, one vine which is branched out into about 15 shoots off just one growing point, because you got to remember every node on these will root wherever they touch ground, and there's about 15 growing points, and every growing point on here has 2, 3, 4 fruits forming on it, or female flowers coming out, which is just amazing. And these guys are very forgiving. I mean, if they grow in your way, you literally just take the vine and move it to the other side. That's all you gotta do. Like I said, this is nice and weedy right here, underneath my plum trees. And I will be running my ducks through here to weed it and fertilize it in the next couple weeks. And all these vines, I'll carefully just pick them up and move them to the side. It won't bother them one bit. But like I was saying earlier, you can't beat easy to grow, super productive, calorie dense food like squash. And these Seminole pumpkins, which, again, this is the native strain. There are all these hybrids and everything today. People are crossing them with butternut and all this. And there's a lot of strains coming out of South America of the muscota, and they just don't seem to be as vigorous. I've tried a lot of this species, and most of them aren't any better than others. The squash bugs attack them, the caterpillars attack them, the powdery mildew hits them really bad, especially in our sometimes cooler springs, or especially in winter. If you don't frost, we can still be cooler and they'll have disease issues. But these Seminole pumpkins are so well adapted to the southern US here, they just do mind-blowingly amazing. And I just let them grow. Like I said, if they're in my way, I just move them out. If not, these guys are allowed to grow wherever they go. And I have not planted seeds for these in years, 2-3 years. And they either overwinter in my greenhouse, a little piece will grow through my greenhouse, or underneath one of the trees, or by the pigs, by the goats. And then as soon as it starts, not as soon as it starts, just whenever they have a warm day, they just start growing. And when you have older plants, they just pump out the flowers. Just keep on going. Like right there. There's one from yesterday got pollinated. There's a male today. There's a female that'll get pollinated today. There's 2 right there that were pollinated yesterday. So you can see just tons of fruits on these. Here's one from the other day. Oh yeah, just everywhere. And follow this vine and I'll find even more of them. There's that big one growing. So guys, get yourself some seed. I do sell seed for these when I have it. And this is the pure. I go through a lot of trouble to keep these guys as pure as possible. I've selected over the years only the absolute best. The largest, the longest storing, the most productive, the most pest and disease resistant vines. And this is what I was left with. A plant that overwinters for me, is extremely productive, no disease or bug problems. And there you go. Kind of pretty too. You can, of course, eat the flowers on these, especially when the males get going. And you can eat the tips if you want. If you tip them, they'll spread out even more. And remember, these guys root everywhere. Wherever they touch the ground and they've got a good spot, these guys will put down roots. And if you've got a lot of fruit and you're early in the season, you can even harvest the young green fruits and fry them up like a summer squash. Which, these guys, zero bitterness. Sometimes zucchini's a bit bitter, or even the yellow squash, they get a bit of bitterness to them. I don't know if you've ever had that. But these guys are super good when they're nice and young and green, tender. Just delicious. So I'm going to leave you guys there. If you do find some Seminole pumpkin seeds, make sure you get a good line, or, you know, spend the years selecting them out yourself if you want. Just always save your best plants as usual. Seed from your best plants. But here you go. This is my T Farms line of Seminole pumpkins. The fruits get about 2 to 3 pounds. Not super large, but good size. And they have no issue storing for months and months. I have some in the house right now that were from this time last year. And I'll be getting seeds out of those. So yeah. The native Seminole pumpkin, guys. Very well adapted to the U.S. here, the southern U.S. And it just can't be beat. The flavor, nice, smooth, delicious flesh. Not stringy at all. The longer you leave them in storage, the sweeter they get. Eat them green, eat the flowers, eat the tips. Can't ask for much more. So I will let you guys go with a nice shot of a beautiful flower here. It's a male flower, but that's okay. See you later, guys. Grow food, grow Seminole pumpkins. Grow that nutritious, calorie-dense food that's easy to grow, super productive, guys.